Today, we're going to review my favorite food. Which place in Richmond has the best sushi? Sushi is by far my favorite food. I was introduced to sushi. I believe I was 6 years old. I was a very picky eater at the time, but we were at a sushi restaurant and I saw one of the rolls. It was a tuna roll. And I said, let me get a bite of that. And I had it and I've been in love ever since. Now, sushi is a very precarious thing. It's not like pizza where the margin of error is actually quite wide. Bad pizza is still pretty darn good food, but bad sushi is awful. So what I've done is I've gone to 5 places here in Richmond that I frequent, and I'm going to see which one has the best fish. Specifically, salmon, because I find salmon to even be more precarious than even the most precarious fish. Bad salmon is terrible. Good salmon is buttery and delicious, wonderful, soft, tender. These are all places that I'm a big fan of and I frequent a lot, so it's kind of like picking between my favorite child, but we're going to do my best. I'm going to do my best, and we're going to go on this journey together to eat some sushi. First, we're going to start off with Fighting Fish. Now, Fighting Fish, loud. Fighting Fish used to be in Jackson Ward, and it also had another location somewhere else. If you Google Fighting Fish and it takes you to Jackson Ward, you are not at Fighting Fish. It is in Scott's Addition now on North Arthur Ashe, kind of near the Bowtie Cinema. They did a whole bunch of renovations, and now they are open, and this is their nigiri, and I'm excited to try it. I had their big giant nigiri plate last weekend. They had really good yellowtail tuna, so do that. I also tried uni for the first time, which is sea urchin. I'm sure their uni was a prime example of uni, but I hate uni. Ooh. Oh. My goodness. Wow. Very big pieces. But right off the bat, that is what salmon is supposed to be. That just melted in my mouth. It was so tender, so buttery. Now, these all have been sitting in my fridge overnight since I'm filming in the morning, and sushi places do not serve breakfast. So I can't judge the rice too much. Rice is not super vinegary. I am a vinegary rice kind of guy. But the salmon itself, absolutely tremendous. And right off the bat, that's going to be hard to beat. We move on to Lucky AF, and we're going to get rid of that. Now, I've kept these in the containers that you'll get them in, if that sways you at home. There's only one container that it's any different than the rest, and that's from Kerrytown. It's yellow, so if you like the color yellow, that's for you. Also, Lucky AF gives you kind of reusable ones. Okay, so this is much more reasonably sized, so you won't have to see me bite like that. This is what you're looking for in salmon. You're looking for those big, fat stripes. Fighting Fish had some beautiful fat stripes as well. I don't know if that's the official term, but that's like the white stripes after, 40 years or so. The fat stripes. The big, fat, white stripes on salmon from Lucky AF. Okay, so the salmon was equally as tender as Fighting Fish, and actually I'd say even more so. It had a bit of a smoky flavor, which is not supposed to happen unless you're eating smoked salmon. The Fighting Fish one was more flavorful. It had that buttery salmon flavor, and Lucky AF was more tender, and that salmon flavor did not necessarily come through as much. The rice was better from Lucky AF. It was much more gummy, and even though these have been sitting out overnight, it didn't dry out as much, which means it's better sushi rice. Fun thing about Fighting Fish, though, and we'll get back to Lucky AF in a second. Fun thing about Fighting Fish is they sell sushi rice just in a bowl. So if you want to make sushi at home, they'll sell you the sushi rice. Or if you're like me and love sushi rice so much, you can just get a bowl to eat. Top tip. Lucky AF, really good place. This is a very good showing. They have really, really good mackerel there. So if you go, they got a lot of rolls. They got like the Galaga roll and the Batman roll with all sorts of sauces and fancy things. Pay no mind. Just get their nigiri. They got really good fish there. Wow, that's a tough one. It'd be funny if they got their fish from the same place. It'd be funny if all the restaurants got the fish from the exact same supplier. Somebody in the comments would let me know. Okay, now this is Miyabi Sushi. This is the only one that did not spend the night in the fridge because they actually do open in the morning. They open at 11 a.m. This is the place that I get my sushi delivered from. They make very good fried rolls. So if you're into that sort of thing, I recommend that. I find fried rolls travel a little bit better than regular rolls. There are some fat stripes on this, not quite as many, which probably will mean this salmon is a little bit tougher, but it could bode well for the flavor. So let's try to find out. Also, I expect the rice to be a little better than these two, just because it's fresh. Exactly as I predicted. Far less tender than either of these two. Again, the salmon flavor did not really come through all that much. This is why I chose salmon, because salmon is also very hit or miss. Some days you have good salmon and some days you have bad salmon. I'm going to say, because I eat at these places a lot, I have never had bad salmon from Lucky AF. I've never had bad salmon from Fighting Fish. Miyabi Sushi, hit or miss. Great for delivery, because they're pretty cheap and they got some good noodles and good other things as well. But if I'm just going straight for nigiri, if I want to get unadulterated fish, I don't know if I recommend Miyabi Sushi. Again, great for delivery. They got a cheap rate on Uber Eats. Kerrytown Sushi. Now, this is a place I used to go to all the time. In fact, this was the only sushi place in Richmond that I would go to because they had a happy hour. They used to. They do not anymore because they've moved locations and they have less seating now, which is an interesting way to do business. So they have a roll that is a lobster and filet mignon roll. So I don't know if they still have that, but give it a try if they still do. I had never actually tried their nigiri, but these look pretty good. Again, they have that fat stripes that we're looking for. Now this one lived on a ginger roll, so I'm going to have the one that did not live on the ginger mound because that would affect the taste, and we want to try to make this as fair as possible. The salmon is quite a bit less orange than the other salmons, which I'm sure means something to somebody who knows more about fish. Farm-raised salmon is paler than wild-caught salmon, but some of these farm-raised folks will add coloring to their salmon to make it look a little more wild. If I had to guess, this one will be very tender, but it will have a little bit less of a salmon flavor. Ooh. That's an odd flavor. Okay. Concerning flavor. I did not like that one. Something about it was a little not good. Now, it could just be that these are not particularly good for saving sushi overnight. It could be that their container let in a little too much air. That's not the flavor that I want when I'm eating salmon. So, interesting showing from Kerrytown. I still recommend them, but maybe eat it there. Or eat it to go. Eat it immediately. Now, this place is sticky rice. Now, this was the most expensive of all the sushi places that I've gone to. The rest of these were about $4 to $6. This one was $7 to $8, which is quite expensive, especially considering you can go to Lucky AF and they have special wild salmon sockeye there. Sockeye salmon. Salmon sockeye. Fix the order at home. for the same price as you get regular old salmon nigiri over there. Sticky Rice is one of the more popular places in Richmond, and I hadn't really eaten there before. I've eaten there one time in my entire life. It was good. They tend to have more off-the-wall things like tuna tater tots, or whatever hipsters like to eat these days. This is more Western sushi kind of place. I did have their vegan Zilla roll last night, which is tofu and cucumber and avocado. And for vegan sushi, it wasn't that bad. Now, right off the bat, there are no fat stripes whatsoever on these. They don't have that beautiful tiger stripe, which is a little concerning, which means that I think this is going to be pretty tough. They are... It's... Alright. Okay. We'll try again. It's hard to gesticulate. I'll keep the sushi still and point. So we'll give this a try. It does not look the same as the rest. This looks a little more just like a regular old salmon slab than a beautiful salmon fillet. But let my taste buds be the ultimate judge. That's... Can we get some like a paper towel or something? Okay. That went bad. Sushi doesn't really save well overnight, despite what the internet tells you. It says that you're allowed to keep it in the fridge up to 3 days after you order it. But that was not good. So what did we learn? We learned that don't keep nigiri sushi overnight. You want to eat it there. You want to eat it there in the restaurant, preferably. Best two easily were Fighting Fish and Lucky AF. Both brought different qualities of salmon that you like to the table. Fighting Fish had a much more buttery salmon flavor, whereas Lucky AF was a lot more tender. Both were absolutely delicious. The rice was a little better on Lucky AF, but the fish was more flavorful on Fighting Fish. So I think it's just one of those things where on any given day, one will beat the other. And thank you so much for watching. Next week, what goes well with sushi? Sake. And we kick off Sober September with some sake tasting. Because I have no self-control. Farm-raised salmon is paler than wild-caught salmon. But some of these farm-raised folks will add coloring to their salmon to make it look a little more wild.